a part-time driver with only 13 career starts walked into the most historic race venue in NASCAR history, stole the lead from the championship leader, who happened to be his own teammate, and drove away with a win nobody saw coming. This is the story of how Corey Heim just changed everything. And if you are a NASCAR fan who lives for moments like this, the upsets, the controversies, the rivalries, and the drama, make sure you subscribe, drop a comment, and hit that like button. Let's get into it. On Sunday, June 21, 2026, Naval Base Coronado on Coronado Island, just south of downtown San Diego, became the site of the first ever NASCAR Cup Series race held on an active United States military installation. The circuit was 4 miles long, featured 16 turns, and was unlike anything the Cup Series had ever raced on before. 50,000 fans packed into the venue for a sellout crowd, and remarkably, 67% of those ticket buyers had never attended a NASCAR event in their lives. This was not just a race. This was NASCAR planting a flag in entirely new territory. The stage was set for a weekend full of storylines. Shane Van Gisbergen claimed the pole position with a lap at 90.809 mph, and he entered the race as the heavy favorite. His record on road and street courses in the Cup Series is almost untouchable. 7 victories on those surfaces, tied for third all-time with Chase Elliott, behind only Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon. Tyler Reddick, the Cup Series points leader, who had won 5 of the first 9 races of the 2026 season, including the Daytona 500, was forced to start from the rear of the field after his team made unapproved adjustments to his number 45 Toyota. And Corey Heim, the 23-year-old reigning Craftsman Truck Series champion from Marietta, Georgia, started 13th in only his 13th career Cup Series start, running a part-time schedule with 23XI Racing before a planned full-time move to the team in 2027. Nobody was talking about Corey Heim as a legitimate contender when that green flag dropped. They should have been. The early portions of the race were defined by chaos. Shane Van Gisbergen led the opening laps and looked comfortable at the front of the field. But Ryan Blaney took over and began to pull away, establishing himself as a threat before the first stage was even half complete. Then came the first wave of drama. Bubba Wallace, who had started 12th and climbed all the way to the front, lost a right front wheel coming off pit road on lap 18 after his 23XI racing crew failed to properly secure it. The tire detached in turn 10, brought out a caution, and earned Wallace a 2-lap penalty that buried him deep in the field. He was furious. 2 crew members would later face suspension as a result of that error. Meanwhile, Christopher Bell, who had been racing while recovering from a fractured left wrist, suffered in a crash at Michigan International Speedway on June 7. Came to pit road on lap 13 for a scheduled driver change. Brent Cruz, an 18-year-old relief driver, took over the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, but the stint lasted only until lap 28, when a gearbox failure ended the run entirely, leaving the car parked in turn 12 in Bell with just a single championship point for the day. Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time Cup Series champion, making his second and final scheduled start of the 2026 season, locked up his brakes on lap 5, hit a tire barrier in the chicane, and never recovered. He finished 28th, and after the race confirmed that his plan remains to make the 2027 Daytona 500 his final Cup Series start. Then came lap 32, and everything changed. On a restart, Connor Zilisch and Austin Hill were side by side battling for the lead when Hill missed the entry to turn 1, and the 2 cars made violent contact with the outside wall. Shane Van Gisbergen, who was right behind them in close quarters racing, had nowhere to go and was collected immediately. All 3 cars were destroyed. The wreck expanded to include 9 cars in total: Michael McDowell, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Blaney, Riley Herbst, John Hunter Nemechek, and Ty Gibbs, all getting caught up in the carnage. The damage to the outside barrier was severe enough to trigger a red flag that lasted 9 minutes and 33 seconds, while crews made repairs to the temporary wall. Shane Van Gisbergen was done. Connor Zilisch was done. both Trackhouse Racing entries eliminated on the same restart. Zylish, who had led the first 8 laps of his Cup Series career during that race, put it simply, I felt like I was giving Austin space, and the next thing, I was in the wall. Really unfortunate. I hate to end both days for both Shane and I. We had a really fast car today. I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed just getting to race out front and lead laps. It was the highlight of what had otherwise been a miserable rookie season for the young Trackhouse Racing driver. And just like that, 2 of the biggest threats to win the race were gone. Corey Heim survived every bit of it. Here is where the story of how Heim actually won this race becomes remarkable. In the opening runs, he was nowhere near the front. He slammed the wall twice while working through his first 2 sets of tires, fell back to approximately 20th place, and looked like a driver who was simply trying to survive a chaotic street course. But crew chief Robert Booty Barker kept telling him the same thing over and over. Those first 2 sets of tires were the worst sets they had. Be patient. The car would come to them. After Stage 2 ended, Heim took a moment and reset completely. As he put it himself, after Stage 2, I just kind of took a deep breath and was like I had really high expectations coming into this race. It's an even playing field for me. I don't see that every day for a young driver like myself, and I just kind of took a deep breath and reset and went after it. From that point forward, Heim was a different driver. He worked his way methodically through the field, climbing into the top 10, then the top 5. With the race winding down, he was reeling in Kyle Larson, who had taken the lead and was pulling away. With 16 laps remaining, Larson and Heim pitted together under green, 4 tires and fuel for both cars. Larson beat Heim off pit road, but almost immediately the caution flew when Ricky Stenhouse Jr. pulled off the track and dropped fluid across turns 1 and 2. That caution reshuffled everything. Carson Hocevar, who had cycled to the front on older tires, inherited the lead. Larson and Heim restarted in strong positions. With 12 laps to go, the green flag dropped. Hocevar held the lead for barely a lap before making contact with the left side wall in turn 12, then spinning through the chicane and collecting Ross Chastain. Just like that, Hocevar was out of contention. Tyler Reddick took the lead. Corey Heim was right behind him. With 5 laps remaining, Reddick led by just 0.4 of a second over Heim. Behind them, Bubba Wallace had fought his way back from 2 laps down all the way to 3rd place. Kyle Larson was 4th. And Reddick was doing everything he could to manage the gap, but Heim was not going away. With 3 laps to go, Reddick nearly slid into the wall, navigating the sharp left-hand turn 2. That mistake was all Heim needed. He dove underneath Reddick in turn 3, they ran side by side all the way through turn 4, and Heim grabbed the lead just past that corner, heading into the straightaway before turn 5. Reddick immediately threw a crossover move and tried to take the position back. In turn 5, the 2 23XI racing teammates made contact. Reddick pushed Heim toward the outside wall. Heim made light contact with the barrier but kept his foot in it and drove away. Reddick immediately lifted. He gave the position back without further challenge, and then, just moments later, his number 45 Toyota blew a left front tire and he fell all the way back to 25th place in the finishing order. Corey Heim crossed the finish line 10, 365 seconds ahead of Bubba Wallace for a 1 and 2 finish for 23XI Racing. Kyle Larson finished 3rd. Zane Smith was 4th. Aj Allmendinger was 5th. Denny Hamlin, who had won the previous 3 races for Joe Gibbs Racing, finished 14th, and his 3-race winning streak came to an end. In the championship standings, Reddick's lead over Hamlin collapsed to just 8 points. After the race, Tyler Reddick did not deflect or make excuses. He owned the contact completely. I certainly overdid it, and ran him into the wall, and initiated the contact. Everything, so, yeah, just not the way you should race a teammate. 100% not the way you should race. He went to victory lane to congratulate and apologize to Heim in person. He raced me really clean. He got the lead fair and square, and I just overdid it. but not everyone was satisfied with that explanation. Carson Hocevar went public with a pointed take on the entire sequence. His argument was direct. If Reddick caused the contact and then voluntarily ceded the position, he effectively devalued the significance of the win itself. Hocevar compared it to a situation where, as he put it, imagine Michael Jordan doing a dirty block and then going, "Ah, shit, I didn't mean to do that. Here, take the ball and try again." That's basically what it is. He also added, if you are a race fan, does this not devalue how much the drivers want to win? The reaction across social media and fan forums was immediate and divided. Some fans called Reddick's decision a genuine act of sportsmanship and teammate respect. Others argued that Hocevar had a point, that the moment Reddick ceded the lead, he took something away from the purity of the result. The debate is legitimate. But here is the counter-argument that matters most. Corey Heim drove from 20th place, survived a 9-car wreck, outlasted the 2 biggest favorites in the race, chased down the championship leader on fresh tires, and forced Reddick into a mistake that Reddick himself admitted was entirely his own fault. The win was earned before that contact ever happened. So who exactly is Corey Heim? He is 23 years old, born and raised in Marietta, Georgia, and he is widely regarded as one of the most complete young talents in NASCAR. He won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series championship in 2024, his first full season in that series. After that title, he had offers to move directly into full-time Cup Series seats, but he turned them down. He chose instead to run a part-time schedule with 23XI Racing and wait for the 2027 full-time ride to open up alongside Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. I always just had a gut feeling that 23XI was where I wanted to be, Heim said. Just so much support from Denny and Anduril. I talk to them on a very regular basis and have always felt like family. Their preparation is the best in the industry. His path to this win had a painful chapter as well. 1 year earlier, at the 2025 Chicago street race, Heim failed to qualify on the day he turned 22 years old. He called it the worst birthday of all time. 1 year later, at a street course, in a race that drew 50,000 fans and 125,000 over the full weekend, he stood in victory lane. The full-circle nature of that moment was not lost on him. That's all full circle for me, going from one street course just crushing my life to probably the best day of my life here a year later. Just funny how that works sometimes. There is one more detail from the victory that deserves recognition. The rear tire changer on Heim's number 67 pit crew, Joe Carroll, was running his very first Cup Series race. When the celebration hit victory lane, his teammates told him to retire immediately, so he could go out with a perfect 1-for-1 record. It was a small moment inside a massive one, but it captured everything about what 23XI Racing built that weekend. Zoom out, and the picture is even larger. All 4 23XI Racing cars ran inside the top 5 at some point during the final stage of that race. Heim, Wallace, Reddick, and Riley Herbst, all of them in contention simultaneously. Denny Hamlin, as both a driver and co-owner, had now won 4 races in 2026 and watched his organization produce a first-time winner in the sport's most unique venue of the year. The Trucks to Cup development pipeline argument is now impossible to ignore. Heim went from the Truck Series directly to Cup and won in 13 starts. Carson Hocevar took the same path and won at Talladega this season. Zane Smith followed the same route and continues to run near the front consistently. Meanwhile, Ty Gibbs and Connor Zeilish, both of whom bypassed the Truck Series entirely and went straight to the Xfinity Series, have both struggled significantly in their Cup careers. The pattern is there, and team owners across NASCAR should be paying close attention. For the championship picture, Tyler Reddick is now just 8 points ahead of Denny Hamlin, with the series heading north to Sonoma Raceway on June 28. Shane Van Gisbergen dominated that event last season, leading 97 of 110 laps from the pole position. He will be motivated. And the pressure on Reddick to stop the bleeding is very real. But none of that changes what happened on June 21st, 2026 at Naval Base Coronado. Before the race, United States Navy service members stood on stage with Corey Heim during driver introductions and tapped their wrists, mimicking his trademark victory gesture, like they somehow already knew. 3.5 hours later, Corey Heim proved them right. He slammed the wall twice, fell to 20th place, outlasted a 9-car wreck, chased down the championship leader, and refused to be moved. "I hope I don't wake up from this dream," he said afterward. It was not a dream. It was Heim time. And if the rest of NASCAR is not paying attention yet, they need to start. And if you want to keep up with every moment of the 2026 NASCAR season, every win, every controversy, every rivalry, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment below, and hit that like button. We will see you in the next one.